Take a trip to Tempe Town Lake for National Hunt and Fish Day. Then we pay tribute to outdoor writer Bob Hirsch. But first, we pack our cameras and head to Colorado Springs for the Junior Olympic Shotgun Camp.
Nestled at the base of the Rocky Mountains, Colorado Springs is home to the U.S. Olympic Training Center. Every year, the top Scholastic Clay Target Program teams and individuals from each state are invited to compete at the Junior Olympic National Championships and to attend the Junior Olympic Development Camp. The training facility for shotguns is located on nearby Fort Carson, a short 20-minute drive away. Competition at this event is by invitation only.
All these shooters here have qualified through their state qualifying shoot, their state USA shooting match, where they either shot a minimum qualification score or were the top high individual male, female, or SCTP team at their state shoot. Here now we have several people representing Arizona. For trap, which is the first half, we have a team from the Red Mountain Club called the Red Mountain Target Terminators, a full team of 3 varsity shooters. We also have an individual from Fort Huachuca, and then we will have additional shooters at the end of the week for the skeet competition from Ben Avery and also from Fort Huachuca.
Go ahead and give me your arms. There you go.
The first step to the Olympic Development Camp is to participate in your local Scholastic Clay Target Program.
You can join SCTP in Arizona several different ways. We have over 16 clubs throughout the state right now. If you contact your local sportsman's club or shooting facility, they probably have a club there. Each club is run by a group of volunteers. The lead instructor is the coordinator for each of the clubs, and if you contact the lead instructor for your club, they will let you know when registration is, when practices are, and how to get involved with your program.
And don't worry about being a novice shooter.
If you have never shot before, we welcome you. All of our coaches are volunteers. They have all been certified through the Game and Fish Department as shotgun coaches, and they can teach anywhere from complete novice shooters to experienced shooters.
As far as equipment goes, the Game and Fish Department provides loaner firearms and safety equipment to each club across the state. They also provide funding for new shooters.
Once you get involved in the Scholastic Clay Target Program, you can be as serious about it as you want. We have minor competitions, which are fun shoots. We hold 3 of those every year. Then the competition escalates to a state shoot level. State shoots are team competitions. By shooting your state shoot with a team, you qualify to attend the national competitions. We've been very successful in the past, bringing home multiple trophies from these competitions, including national championships.
The Junior Olympics is a new program created by a partnership between the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the Scholastic Clay Target Program, and USA Shooting.
The National Shooting Sports Foundation is the trade association for the firearms industry, and we're geared towards providing programs and services that meet the needs of our members, as well as providing trusted leadership in addressing the industry challenges which we face every day. One of the major challenges that we are faced with is youth participation and needing to expand and get more youth involved in the shooting sports. And that's why the National Shooting Sports Foundation, in partnership with the ATA, NSSA, NSCA, and USA Shooting, decided to form a program that was team-based to get more youth involved in the shooting sports of skeet, trap, sporting clays, and the international disciplines of trap and international skeet. Nationwide, this year we had close to 9,500 athletes participating in Scholastic Clay Target Program over a spanning 44 states. We have participants in the elementary grades up through high school.
There are actually several people from Arizona who have made the Junior Olympic team, including shooters out of Tucson, Emily Blount, and then Jimmy Gibson as well.
Once at the camp, shooters are housed in the athlete dormitories and fed in the athlete cafeteria alongside scores of other Olympic hopefuls. While that's an exciting adventure, they're here to learn. And who best to teach them than Lloyd Woodhouse, Olympic shooting sports coach for shotgun? We took the opportunity to ask Coach Woodhouse what was the single thing he finds lacking in most shooters.
That's probably the easiest question I'll ever answer. Is they're not prepared to see the target when it leaves the trap house. If you're into your game properly, you should know exactly the moment you are ready for target acquisition. That's visual target acquisition, seeing the target as it leaves the house. And the vast majority of the young people and older shooters have not a clue how to do that.
What about stance?
In reference to body stance, foot position stance, that kind of thing, it's recommended where you change your center of gravity from an upright position to just a little bit forward, bending your knees just a slight amount so they're not in the locked position. And we move forward, move the center of gravity in the upper body forward, simply to absorb the recoil of the first shot so you're on target for the second shot. When people stand upright and lock their knees, they're not ready to absorb that first shot, and the recoil knocks them back. So they're not in a good position for the second shot should they need that second shot due to a miss with the first shot.
What does a person need to be a good shooter?
There are three things that you need to be a really outstanding shooter. People laugh at me when I tell them the first thing is motivation. And they say, motivation? What do you mean? Well, you got to have that burning down in your tummy, down in your belly to achieve success. It's the same thing to achieve success in any endeavor. You have to have it, you have to want it, you want to get it, and you have to be willing to give up other things in order to achieve that success. But number one is motivation. And number two is family support, financial encouragement, support they might get from their local club, support they might get from USA Shooting. But the biggest thing is family support, encouragement from the family. And then the last thing is certainly not necessary, but you can get there quicker, is really good hand-eye coordination. One of my best shooters of all times does not have really good hand-eye coordination. Got an opposite dominant eye, which is a huge problem. But he has more motivation than anybody else and works at it harder.
Any final comments for shooters?
Well, you know, this is an easy game. We make it hard. If you come along and do fundamentals, and there's about 4 or 5 fundamentals that you have to do over and over, then this is not a tough game. People think they arrive, and once they arrive, they don't have to do the fundamentals. And that's a big mistake. The game that we play, trap, skeet, and double trap, a clay target game, is a game of repetition. That means you do the same thing over and over if you want to break 100 straight, which is the same thing over and over.
We now currently have 3 former SCTP participants that now are on the USA team, one of which, Vincent Hancock, is the world record holder in international skeet. Corey Cogdell from Alaska is shooting trap, and she actually was introduced to bunker trap at one of our first years of Junior Olympic Development Camp. So now we actually have these faces that came out of SCTP and have climbed up through the woodworks and now are at the top level and could potentially be the faces that we see at the Olympics next year that are representing our country.
There is nothing more beautiful than the face of a child when they discover something new and wonderful. And there is no greater bond formed than that of a parent and child when they make those discoveries together. On September 22nd at Tempe Town Lake, there was plenty of wide-eyed wonder to go around as the Arizona Game and Fish Department held a Get Outdoors Expo as part of the National Hunting and Fishing Day celebration.
It's great. This is a great thing to get to do.
And the idea is to get people out in touch with their outdoor heritage and in touch with wildlife and get them outdoors and enjoying all that Arizona has to offer, and the country as well.
And the outdoors of Arizona has so much to offer. At this free event, people were able to take out a kayak or canoe for a spin around the lake or try their hand at archery. And that's only the beginning.
We've got a clean camp, dirty camp, where people can pick up some camping tips, things that they should do to be safe out in the woods and make sure that they don't get bears or other unwanted kinds of animals in their camp. And we've got a free fishing clinic, so if folks want to come down and try their luck at fishing, ask the experts on what kind of bait they should use, what kind of hook, depending on the type of fish they're after. We've got people that can help with that. And then we've also got some animals from the Wildlife Center, so folks can come down and take a look at a great horned owl or some Mexican bats, or just come down and find out what outdoors in Arizona is all about, and trying to get them off the couch and out in the woods.
It was a hoot. It was fun. Fishing game rocks.
Have you gone canoeing before?
Many, many years ago when you're kids, so you get to relive your childhood. I think every child should get out there and do the stuff that's fun, so when you're an adult you can come back to it and remember how much fun it was.
4-year-old Emma Garcia is making great childhood memories right now as her father rows her around the lake, while her mother and baby brother watch from the shore.
I think she loves it. It's something fun for all of us to do.
There was no shortage of fun on this day, and that is the whole idea behind National Hunting and Fishing Day. This day was established by Congress in 1971 to recognize hunters and anglers for their contributions to wildlife conservation. The more than $1 billion annually that hunters and anglers spend on license fees and excise taxes on sporting equipment is what funds wildlife conservation programs, habitat acquisition, and outdoor recreation opportunities in Arizona and throughout the country. Teaching people about the outdoors is becoming more and more important as society moves toward more urban and less rural lifestyles.
Well, all of a sudden we're looking up and seeing our kids are staying in the living room, and they're also in there with mom and dad. And it's important to get people out so they can understand the heritage that we have as Americans, and an appreciation for the outdoors and the wildlife that is all around us. And so National Hunting and Fishing Day has evolved into a national celebration. And the idea is to get people out in touch with their outdoor heritage and in touch with wildlife. But basically today we're trying to introduce citizens, local folks here in Tempe as well as surrounding communities, and give them an opportunity to see what all we have to offer for the outside and outdoor recreation in Arizona.
So take your children out for a hike, learn to fish, paddle a canoe, or simply enjoy the beauty of the outdoors, and you just may discover the little kid in yourself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is your old buddy Bob Hirsch here once again to amaze and delight you with words from the wild. Autumn is one of my favorite times of the year. It's a model who lets her hair down at the end of the day, smiling a smile she never
Arizona lost a very good friend this year when outdoor writer and radio host Bob Hirsch passed away just a few weeks shy of his 80th birthday. Bob worked with Arizona Wildlife Views, both the magazine and television show, for many years.
And see the reflection of an aspen tree reflected across the water like a golden arrow. It is a secret trail where oak and locust leaves flutter like russet and crimson flags over the graves of the delicate brown ferns.
Bob touched many lives while preaching and teaching his love for the Arizona outdoors. He was a voracious reader and prolific writer of magazine articles, books, newspapers, journals, maps, and television and radio shows on the great outdoors. Most of all, he had a knack for guaranteeing that everyone around him enjoyed themselves while learning to appreciate the outdoors, nature, and conservation.
Brook trout and brown trout have good taste. They spawn in the fall. The brook trout cruise the lake shoreline looking for inlet streams. And if you stand quietly in that magic hour just before dusk, you can see the parade. Okay, let's take a look at the three kinds of fish we caught this morning. People tend to call these all bluegills. Down south they call them brim. You know, of course, we know that's coffee, don't we? Anyway, here's the bluegill.
We remember Bob strolling down the hall. With his big smile, he'd stick his head through the door and in true Bob fashion say, "Here's what I need you to do." We knew we were in for an adventure that we would never forget. But the adventure that we enjoyed most were our trips to Lake Powell.
Lake Powell sits like a shimmering turquoise jewel,
magnificently framed by towering rock formations and soaring red cliffs, which surround the area for as far as the eye can see. There is truly nothing like it anywhere on the planet.
I tell people, if you took me up in the woods at Flagstaff, where I couldn't see anything but trees, I could be in Maine or New Hampshire or Canada. But if you take me out here blindfolded and then whip the blindfold off, there's no place like this any place else in the world. You'd know exactly where you are right away.
Outdoor writer and sportsman Bob Hirsch made his first trip to this area around 1969 and has been exploring it ever since. And one of his favorite places, as well as one of the main attractions of the lake, is Rainbow Bridge.
And I'd never get tired of going back there. I told my wife Mary one day, I said, I'd like to go up to the bridge and just stay there until I'm tired of it. She said, don't do that. Your children will forget you. Because every day when you go there, your personality changes a little bit. How do you feel? Is the coffee cold this morning? Did you have a fight with your wife? The boat didn't start, whatever. And then hour by hour, it changes with the light. That's endlessly fascinating.
Rainbow Bridge National Monument is taller than the nation's capital and nearly as long as a football field. It is the largest natural bridge in the world, and before Lake Powell flooded Glen Canyon, it was one of the most inaccessible regions in the country. The Navajo culture considers it a sacred symbol of deities, responsible for creating clouds, rainbows, and rain, the essence of life in the desert. Today there is a courtesy dock, so visitors can access the bridge by boat, or for the more hardy, there is a 14-mile hiking trail that begins at the Navajo Mountain Trading Post. Lake Powell was formed when Glen Canyon Dam was built to hold back the mighty Colorado River. Construction began in 1956, and the dam was dedicated 10 years later. Once the giant floodgates were closed, it took another 17 years for the lake to completely fill. Now it's second only to Lake Mead as the largest man-made reservoir in North America. It's 186 miles long and has nearly 2,000 miles of shoreline, which is more than the entire west coast of the United States. Photographer Gary Ladd makes part of his living taking large format pictures of this lake and the canyonlands that surround it.
This may sound a little bizarre, but I have to wonder about it because the lake level keeps changing and it exposes things that I haven't seen before when it's down. And when it goes back up, it totally rearranges things again.
This is how the lake looked in the year 2000. And this is how it looked in 2006, after reaching its lowest level in decades. The fluctuating lake levels, plus the varying play of light on the red sandstone, means there is always something new for people like Gary Ladd to see and photograph.
Well, it's looking pretty good this evening. It's clear to the west, so there aren't any clouds that will be in the way as sunset comes on, and yet there are clouds off to the east above Navajo Mountain, so I think this evening may be worthwhile for some good color.
It's as if even the flooding of Glen Canyon won't stop her from showing off her treasures, every now and then.
Lake Powell has been in the midst of a drought for the last 5 years. In this year, we're going to start coming up. So Lake Powell is currently at a lake level of 3,588, and it's going to come up to 3,625. And the good thing about that is all the launch ramps will be wet, and the Castle Rock Cut will be open, along with many other shortcuts on Lake Powell. So access and boating is going to be great.
To really experience Lake Powell, you need to explore it by boat. The lake gives you access to a myriad of canyons painted with bands of vermilion, mauve, ivory, and chocolate, rocks from the depth of time in living color.
Big gorges branch into smaller gorges. They in turn divide into smaller canyons, each one exposing new and exciting things to see, like these fiery reflections dancing on the rocks. And everywhere, the cliffs of Glen Canyon tower overhead. It is worth repeating that there is no other place quite like it. One of the most popular ways to visit Lake Powell, especially for families, is by houseboat.
The joy of houseboating is really you have all the amenities and luxuries of home in a what I would call somewhat of a wilderness experience, but it's a great way to get away from everything, sit back, relax, enjoy beautiful Lake Powell.
When you rent a houseboat, it is recommended that you also take a small powerboat along with you. Typically, you can find a quiet cove to park your home away from home, and then use the smaller boat to really explore the lake. And do some fishing, too.
The drought has actually had a great silver lining for the fisheries at Lake Powell. As the lake went down, it exposed sediment that's been covered for 30, 35 years. As that sediment mixed with wind and wave action, it released the nutrients. Those nutrients were taken up by plants. That was eaten by plankton. Many plankton creates many shad. So the shad is our forage base, and once we had a tremendous number of shad out there, all the game fish got big, fat, and healthy. So the drought has been just a great thing for the fish populations in Lake Powell.
While fishing is very popular here, the greatest attraction is still the uniqueness of the area itself. Besides all the incredible beauty, there is plenty of history that still lines these shores. When Bob Hirsch was a younger man, he took us on a tour of the Miners' Stairs.
Standing on some miners' stairs on the main channel of Lake Powell, right across the channel from Cathedral, and just a few miles from the entrance to Rainbow Bridge Canyon. Back around the turn of the century, there was a miner gold rush. Now, there's no gold in sandstone, as far as we know so far, but there was some in the sand along the river that came down from Colorado and Wyoming in the spring floods. It was called flour gold, like cake flour. It was so fine. So the miners would load up their burros. Now, getting to the river was almost as much trouble as finding the gold. Imagine trying to find a way down to the river through these mazes of canyons. They'd get to a place like this where they had slick rock. The miner could sit down and slide down, but the burro balked. He wouldn't come down. The answer was to stop for a day or a week, take out a chisel and a hammer and carve out a set of stairs for your burro so he'd follow you down to the river. When the lake's at about 3680 elevation, you can step right out of your boat into these stairs and come up and kind of take a little walk in the past.
Those steps continue on, all the way to the bottom of the lake, where the Colorado River used to run free through Glen Canyon. Just as this boat causes ripples across the water, the construction of Glen Canyon Dam had the ripple effect of creating needed water storage and readily available electricity for our state. Unfortunately, the dam also had the effect of destroying most of Glen Canyon and impacting the ecosystems downstream into the Grand Canyon. In 1968, public opposition defeated proposals to build Marble and Bridge Canyon dams, which would have flooded much of Grand Canyon between Hoover and Glen Canyon dams. These areas are safer now because Glen Canyon was given up.
Well, I suppose that even though I didn't at first like the lake, it's because eventually, gradually, I realized that it's really an incredibly beautiful place. And even though I understand that a tremendous amount was lost here, and in fact some of it was right below at the mouth of Wahweap Creek, it's really pretty amazing just the way it is.
Even though the building of Glen Canyon Dam was steeped in controversy, the reality today is Lake Powell has become a popular destination in its own right, a fascinating place where you can still appreciate the beauty that was Glen Canyon and connect with the storied history of this rugged country.
You can honor Bob's memory by taking a kid hunting or fishing, advocating for conservation of our game and fish resources, and sharing a story or two about him at the end of a day, afield or afloat. He'll likely be just around the bend, setting up for that one last cast as darkness falls.
For more information about anything you've seen on tonight's program, go to our website, azgfd.gov.